This is the type of video I rarely do, but I'm so disorganized for June that I felt like I need to go easy on myself and just go for it. Hey Booktube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March, and like I said in my intro, this is a video I rarely do, but I am going to be doing a June TBR. So you have the pleasure of looking at all the books that I'm planning on reading in June. Let's see. There are 2 June read-alongs that I want to be involved in. There's several read-alongs on Booktube for every month, so I need to be discerning as to which ones I want to take on. I can't read that many books, but I'm choosing 2, and I have several selections for each of them. So these are primarily the books I will be reading in June. I have a couple others. I have a book group book and that type of stuff. So these are only piles of books that I could choose from. And there are certain books that I plan on absolutely reading. I could pull other books off my shelves to fit into each of these themes for June. No, you never know. So again, it's a pile of possibilities, but I am going to keep these piles available to pull books from for the month of June. So let me go ahead and show you what I've compiled. So there's 2 read-alongs I'm being involved in. The first one is June on the Range. And this was originated by Michael K. Vaughan. I've talked about that in a few other videos. There are several other booktubers who are hosting, and I honestly did not prepare this to tell you verbally who they are. I may put them in the text at the bottom of my screen, but I will absolutely link them all below. So, with that, CriminOlly is hosting. I believe he is taking a part in June on the Range, but he's hosting a read-along of Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian on Discord. I am going to be buddy reading this with AJ Dunn, so I'm not going to be taking part in the group read, but I may follow his progress. I may follow Ollie's. I'm not on Discord, so I may follow his discussions on videos if he chooses to do that. But AJ and I are going to be reading that as a buddy read, and I actually had that in my last video. So, June on the Range. The whole point is to read Westerns. Now, I took that theme and I'm going in a direction that may be a little bit different, but I'm thinking it still applies to the theme of reading Westerns. One of my favorite books of all time is Lonesome Dove, and that is one of the best Westerns to ever be written. And there are many others, but I think, you know, when people say Western, you think of Zane Grey, or what is the other one, the really famous one? Louis L'Amour, those types of books. And I think especially Michael K. Vaughan is planning on reading several of those. So there's all kinds of authors who write Westerns. One of them is Larry McMurtry, the author of Lonesome Dove. And I read, he has a trilogy of books called the Barry Bender Narratives. And I read number 1, which was Sin Killer, years ago. Not too long ago that I don't remember it. But I am going to, I have in my pile of possibilities, volume 2, which is The Wandering Hill. And I can't really say a lot because it's number 2 in a trilogy. McMurtry continues the story of Tasman Barry Bender and her eccentric family in the still unexplored Wild West of the 1830s. Now, this is the first book, Sin Killer, was hilarious because the Barry Bender family is who they believe to be cultured and refined, and they're just comical. And Tasman is the daughter in the family, and she is just sick of her own family, wants to get away from them, wants to get out on her own, but she has no idea what she's doing. And she meets a young mountain man, Jim Snow, who is labeled the Sin Killer. So I'm not going to say anything more about that. But I would really love to get back to this series and read The Wandering Hill, and get to volume 3 and finish that series. The next one, I am picking up, or want to pick up, a Willa Cather novel. And I read The Death Comes for the Archbishop a while ago, and I really enjoyed it. So I have several of her other novels, and one of them is A Lost Lady, which I am looking forward to. Now, this isn't what you would really think of when you think of Western. It's not a Zane Grey or a Louis L'Amour, even a Larry McMurtry. But Willa Cather is a Western author, a woman author, which I really love and look forward to. And this book is it's set in the 30s, I believe. And this is Marion Forrester, who is married to an elderly railroad pioneer in Sweetwater. And it's kind of talking about the demise of the American West, and also the demise or the impending demise of the American dream. And so I'm really looking forward to another Willa Cather. Now I'm going to go way out of my comfort zone, and I picked up 2 volumes of poetry about the American West. This one is Poetry of the American West, The Red Drum by Jane Candia Coleman. And this is a very, very slim volume, but I was really interested in trying to get into some poetry, and I thought I'm going to look for poems set in the American West or talking about the American West. I'm not usually good with poetry, but this one looked fantastic and beautiful, and I thought I'm going to try it, so I wanted to read this poetry collection. The next one I've seen on BookTube before, and I was fascinated, but this one is When My Brother Was an Aztec by Natalie Diaz, and this, I believe, is a debut poetry collection. Yes, it foregrounds the particularities of family dynamics and individual passion against the backdrop of the mythological intensity of tribal life and deeply rooted cultural history. She is an Indigenous author, and I'm really looking forward to this because I actually saw this on several other channels and heard glowing reviews about that collection. I have another reread, and this is one of my favorite books of all time, coincidentally another Pulitzer Prize winner. This is Wallace Stegner's Angle of Repose, and I have a couple different versions of this novel. This is Angle of Repose. It tells the story of Lyman Ward. He's kind of a recluse, a disabled man, and he is a retired professor of history, author of books about the Western frontier, and he's retired to his home in Grass Valley, California. He is looking back at his grandmother and their legacy and their life history of settling in the West, what that meant to his family, how that kind of created his family life, his family legacy. This is an absolutely beautifully written book. If you've never read it, I highly encourage you to go out and read Angle of Repose. We also read this for the Critical Chicks book group, so I've already read this twice, and I told myself earlier this year that I wanted to reread this year, and I thought it's the perfect opportunity with June on the Range. So, those are the books I plan on reading for June on the Range, or hopefully I can get to all of them. I would really like to. So this is my pile of possibilities. There are 6 books here. The Lost Lady is kind of getting buried in those other taller volumes of poetry. So these are the 6 books I would love to get to for June on the Range. Now, the other read-along, the other theme that I'm reading for June is Pride Month, and I always love reading books for Pride Month. And I've also, told myself I don't want to just read LGBTQ-friendly books in June. I want to read them all the time, read them throughout the year, because there's so many that are so good, well-written, interesting, educational, all of it. And aside from the context of the story, there's no difference between an LGBTQ identified author versus a cis straight author or whoever. It's simply the content. There's no difference in talent or anything else for that matter. So there should be no question in reading any book throughout the year. Blah, 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 blah. I'm all done on my soapbox. I have a Library of America edition of James Baldwin's early novels and stories, and I really want to dive into this. So this volume includes, if I can get to that page, Go Tell It on the Mountain, Giovanni's Room, Another Country, Going to Meet the Man. And I would love to read Giovanni's Room out of this volume. I really want to get further into my Library of America collection because I have so many fantastic books in this collection. So I want to get to that. That's on my pile of possibilities. This one is nonfiction. This is Jan Morris's Conundrum. And I talked about this in a book haul. Jan Morris is was a transgender travel author. I believe she is deceased. And this is kind of her talking about her life and her transition, which she knew about from the age of 4 years old. So this is going to be, I expect, a book that I'm going to love, and wanted to read this one first, and there are so many other of her books that I thought looked really interesting. Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters. I have several of Sarah Waters' books. I read Fingersmith and really liked it. So this is the second one I would read if I happen to pick this up for June. This is Nan King is captivated by the music hall phenomenon Kitty Butler, a male impersonator extraordinaire treading the boards in Canterbury. So it's kind of a lesbian love story and set on a stage in show business, and again, heard wonderful things about that book. This one is a contemporary lesbian romance, One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I read their book, Red, White, and Royal Blue, which was a gay romance between the son of an American president and a prince of England. And that one was so fun, and I really enjoyed that. And I'm looking forward to this one. This has a fantasy time traveling element to it. And it's set in the city, I think, because that's a subway. That's a picture of a subway. I don't know if you can see that. So this is another contemporary fun romance that I hope I enjoy, and I think I'm going to really actually get to that one for sure. This one I had in a previous book haul. This is Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. This one I think is actually a young adult, or I think it's a young adult novel, but it sounded so good. And it is Lily Hugh. It's set in 1954. Lily Hugh and Kath Miller. It's a lesbian love story set in the 50s. And there's also the Red Scare of 1954 because Lily is Chinese American. So there's a lot of intersectionality going on there and a lot of issues that these two women have to deal with. And the last one in my pile of possibilities is The Gods of Tango by Carolina de Robertis. And she is the author. I actually believe their pronouns are they and them at this point. But they are the author of Cantoris, which I also have on my shelf over there. And I really want to read that one as well. I'm not sure if I'll get to it this next month. This book is a book that it's been on my shelf for a long time, too long. And it was published in 2015. I found this hardcover copy with deckled edges at the Dollar Tree for $1, when the Dollar Tree did have things for $1. Now I think it's $1.25. But I happened to see this, and the only reason I actually picked it up was because I recognized her name, and I'm like, that's $1, I'm grabbing it. So this is a book, February 1913, 17-year-old Lita, clutching a suitcase and her father's cherished violin, leaves her small Italian village for a new home and husband halfway across the world in Argentina. Upon her arrival in Buenos Aires, Lita is shocked to find that her bridegroom has been killed. She ends up in a tenement, poor, destitute, about to lose everything, on the brink of destitution, and she finally acts on a passion she has kept secret for years. She wants to master the violin. Lita is seduced by the music that underscores the life of the city, the tango, and born from lower class immigrant voices, now the illicit, scandalous dance of brothels and cabarets. So I am really looking forward to this. All of these books I could say about this one as well. I really want to get to all of them. However, that's probably 12 books for the month of June. My hard cover, not all hard covers, hard copy, that's what I'm looking for. God. So in hard copy, so there's 12 books in hard copy. I haven't counted Kindle or audiobooks or any of that. Plus I have Hotel New Hampshire that I'm reading for the Critical Chicks, so I better get all my game for the month of June. Again, these are my pile of possibilities. I don't know if I'm going to get to them all. I don't know if I'm going to pick something else instead. I don't know if I'm going to love every book, but I'm sure going to try. I'm going to make myself love all of this reading. That's it for me for this video. I never do TBRs. I almost never do TBRs. I never do TBRs. But June, I was disorganized. And I thought, I can't keep up. I can't keep track. I must do it. So here it is. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. If you've read any of these books already. I'm already aware that Blood Meridian is going to be tough. I'm going to read it anyway because I want to see if I'm going to hate read it because it's Cormac McCarthy and I don't like him, or if this is going to be a masterpiece of a novel. I've heard many people say, yes, it's a masterpiece. So we'll see. That's it for me. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye, everybody.